Welcome, Shana Tova. We've come together for the Jewish New Year, a chance to renew ourselves for the year to come. Thank you for joining me to grapple with ourselves, our expectations, and our shortcomings over the prior year. We gather not only to work on ourselves, but to prepare for work on the world around us. The last year in the Jewish calendar has been one of greater fear, struggle, and worry than many of us have experienced in a long time, if ever. We are, many of us, dragging ourselves across the finish line to the new year. Wherever you are in the race to the new year, whether you're ready to move on or not, let our Rosh Hashanah evening service tonight be a moment when you allow yourself to stop. Take this time to prepare to focus on what you need to renew yourself for the coming year. Give yourself time, this moment, even if it's only the smallest moment of renewal, the smallest bit of a restart. Hebrew uses the word kavanah to refer to the idea of preparation, focus, or intention. That same Hebrew word, kavanah, can also mean a statement that we use to focus our attention before engaging in a service, a ceremony, or a ritual. As we prepare to begin for a new year, I offer these words of Walt Whitman as a kavanah for us, for tonight, to simply be and to be aware. Will you seek afar off? You surely come back at last. In all things best known to you, finding the best, or as good as the best. Happiness, knowledge, not in another place, but this place. Not for another hour, but this hour. Wherever we find ourselves, whatever place is this place for you, at this hour, know that even at a distance, I'm glad to welcome you to Machar's community this evening. And we'll join together with the Machar choir to sing Hine Matov, a traditional song of welcoming.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת עמים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת עמים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת עמים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת עמים גם יחד.
Jewish holidays often begin with a practice called Kiddush. While Kiddush is often translated as sanctification, the basic meaning of the word is dedication, separation, the idea of something being special. Let us mark this time as separate and special by lighting candles and reciting blessings over wine and the special round challah that has come to be associated with the high holidays season. I'll recite the blessings, and you'll see the items in the corner of your screen. If you have them, feel free to go get them so that you can participate too. If you don't have them, that's okay. You'll see them on screen, and you'll at least know what we're talking about. We begin with candles. Let us bless the light in the world. Let us bless the light in humanity. Let us bless the light of this holiday. If you have wine, Nivarech et yotzrei pri hagafen, let us bless those who create the fruit of the vine. And if you have challah, Nivarech et hamotziim lechem min haaretz, let us bless those who bring forth bread from the earth. The focus for humanistic Jews on Rosh Hashanah is on reaffirming our values and preparing to work for improvement of the world. We do so tonight by singing Efa Ori, written by Rabbi Sherwin Wein, the founder of our movement, Secular Humanistic Judaism, and we'll led again by the Machar choir.
Eifo tikvati bi, Eifo kohi bi, v'gam bach, Eifo kohi bi, v'gam bach. Where is my light? My light is in me. Where is my hope? My hope is in me. Where is my strength? My strength is in me and in you, and in you. Where is my strength? My strength is in me and in you, and in you.
What does it mean to find light in ourselves and in one another? Some part of it is in this meditation by John Dickman on humanistic values based on the words of Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 5 through 9. Therefore we strive to lead loving, compassionate lives with our heart, with our wisdom, and with our actions. These words we inscribe on our innermost heart. We aspire to practice them day and night, teaching them diligently to our children through our words and especially through our deeds, so that the next generations learn to revere and celebrate life. This year, we perhaps see more clearly than in the past how precious life is and how we depend upon not only one another, but those who came before us. We recognize and express appreciation for those who came before with a Shehecheyanu blessing. Nivarech kol dor vador Shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Let us bless each generation that gave us life, sustained us, and brought us to this time. Since the temple stood in Jerusalem, Jews in a standing position, Amidah, have idealized qualities which they attributed to their ancestors and deity. Whether literally or in spirit, please stand together so that we can proclaim our shared ideals and our will to act upon them, with an Amidah written by Rabbi Binyamin Biber. Let us remember those who have come before us, who have given us life, love, and our culture. Such is our Zikaron Chazdei Imot V'Avot, our remembrance of the kindness and merits of our mothers and fathers. Let us work together in mutual aid to benefit all. May we thus advance mutuality, Gemilut Chasadim, our best response to being parts of a vast and interdependent world. Let us be thankful for all that sustains us, for all that gives us contentment and joy, compassion and understanding. May our efforts help bring such well-being to all who live on earth. Let us work for peace, shalom, in our relationships, our communities, and our world. Let us recognize and celebrate our differences to better live together on this one planet. Let us work to heal the sick and sustain health, to give the weary strength and life renewed, to support those who have fallen, to uplift those bowed down, to free those in bondage, to abolish both greed and poverty, and to repair and improve the world. Havana avod l'rapei cholim u'lechalkel briut, latet la'ayev koach v'chayim mechudeshet, lismoch noflim, l'zakef kefufim, lehatir asurim, levatel gam betza v'gam oni, letaken et ha'olam. Each year during the high holiday season, many congregations read the same Torah portions year after year after year as part of a traditional reading cycle. One of the main Torah portions that's read during Rosh Hashanah is known by the Hebrew name Akedah. Akedah means binding, and it refers to the binding of Isaac. The story of Abraham taking Isaac up on top of a mountain and under instructions from heaven, preparing to sacrifice Isaac. And even though at Machar we don't tend to read the entire Torah portion, and certainly this year, when everything is a little bit shorter, we won't be reading the entire Torah portion. But every year I read this Torah portion. And every year I see something different in it. And this year, more than any year before, and even more than last year, what I see in this is actually some of the mistakes, the mistaken mindset that comes along with the COVID-19 pandemic. Let me explain what I mean. The story of the Akedah is Abraham hearing a divine command to take his son, Isaac, and sacrifice his son. And the story's text raises the stakes over and over and over again. God calls out to Abraham, and Abraham says, "Yes, I'm here." And God says, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac," adding to the tension, adding to the tension. And Abraham does this. Abraham takes Isaac in the morning, and he takes him up on top of a mountain, and he is ready to sacrifice Isaac, and the knife is in his hand, and the text says an angel stops him and calls out to him. And it is then that Abraham sees a ram caught in a thicket, and he sacrifices the ram instead. Now, part of the reason that this is told on Rosh Hashanah is that the ram is caught in the thicket by its horns, and we blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, so here you go, right? Ram's horn story. But what this story always does for me is point out the problems of maybe only listening to yourself. Maybe only listening to what you hear in your head and not what you see around you. And for a lot of people, this seems to be what has happened during the COVID-19 pandemic, that they listen to what they hear internally. They go online to do research, but the research that they're doing sometimes is really just laden with confirmation bias. And we end up with mistaken sacrifice. We end up with people sacrificing their own lives. They think for a good cause by rejecting vaccines, by looking for some kind of alternative treatment that doesn't work. The science shows it doesn't work, but they still pursue that treatment. And so this year, when I read the story of the Akedah, I kept seeing those images in my mind and hearing those stories of the people who refused a vaccine until it was too late because they really thought that something was wrong with that vaccine and they just couldn't trust it. And they went online and they found confirmation in people who said the same things. And when you do that, you're just listening to yourself. It is a challenge to hear the things you don't want to hear. Rosh Hashanah is about that challenge. It's about that challenge from within ourselves at looking at our own actions and saying, what do I not want to know about myself? And it is about hearing those from outside, having other people come to us and perhaps tell us that something has happened that we then need to grapple with. We need to rethink our justifications. And particularly in a year where this kind of reflection is so important for people who could save their lives by listening to an outside voice. That understanding of Rosh Hashanah is of crucial importance. Now, I'm not saying that the story of the Akedah gives me that conclusion. The story of the Akedah does nothing of the sort. But the story of the Akedah prompts a little bit of thinking and a little bit of worry and a little bit of concern. And so we find ourselves in a very sad period where we know what has to happen to protect people, and we're seeing people not protect themselves. And I don't have any answer to that. I don't know how to make people do that. But I do know that it's important for us to hear the things that are challenging to us from within ourselves and from without. Because at the end of the day, that's a large part of the point of Rosh Hashanah, That's how you do self-improvement. That's how you do teshuvah. You have to hear the things you don't want to hear about yourself. We've mentioned the many deaths from COVID-19, and we would be remiss in failing to mention the disabilities that have come along with those who have survived COVID-19, long COVID, all of these kinds of symptoms. And so we need to make sure that we mention separately people who have suffered from COVID-19, whether it's directly from the illness or from the lockdowns and the other circumstances that come with it, which have been very difficult for children, which have been very difficult for many people with mental health issues. So we recognize the sadness, and we recognize how deep that sadness is of the last year. Let's take a moment to bring to mind those in need of healing, as well as those who provide that help, who provide essential services, who provide healing and teaching, as they all confront another season of continued risk. As well, we stop to remember those whom we've lost with our Kaddish for this evening. Because we might not all be online together at the same time, please take a moment to bring to mind those you are mourning or miss this time of year, while I read our Kaddish, dedicating ourselves to bettering the world in memory of those who have gone. Nitgadal v'nitkadash beruach ha'adam. Let us enhance and exalt ourselves in the spirit of humanity. Let us acclaim the preciousness of life. Let us show gratitude for life by approaching it with reverence. Let us embrace the whole world, even as we wrestle with its parts. Let us each in our own way take up our share in serving the world and seeking truth. May our commitment to life help us to strengthen healing of spirit and peace of mind. May healing and peace permeate and comfort all Israel and all those who dwell on earth. And let us say, Ken Yehi, may it be so. It is traditional to conclude the Kaddish with a song hoping for peace. Hoping, however, is not enough. We must work for peace. Please join me as we sing our song committing ourselves to working for peace. Na'aseh Shalom. Na'aseh Shalom ba'olam. Na'aseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Ve'imru shalom. Na'aseh Shalom ba'olam. Na'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Ve'imru shalom. Na'aseh shalom. Na'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Na'aseh shalom. Na'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Na'aseh shalom, na'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Na'aseh shalom, na'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Na'aseh shalom, na'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. What does it mean to work for peace? For centuries, Jews have derived inspiration from the ancient prophets' demands for justice. The prophet Isaiah assailed those who publicly fasted but failed to ensure the well-being of others. And so we read this, adapted from Isaiah chapter 58. This is the fast we must undertake: to break unjust fetters, to let the oppressed go free, to share your bread with the hungry and shelter the homeless poor. If you do away with the yoke, the clenched fist, the wicked word, if you give your bread to the hungry and relief to the oppressed, your light will rise in the darkness. Thank you for joining us for our Erev Rosh Hashanah service. We owe special thanks to the Machar choir, which prepared videos for our use this evening. We'll be online tomorrow morning for our Rosh Hashanah morning services, Please join us then if you are able. We'll conclude tonight with another song of peace, Od Yavo Shalom, followed by a final note to awaken us to the new year, a single blast from the shofar. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Shana Tova. I hope I'll see you tomorrow for a Rosh Hashanah morning service.